All right, so last time I went over how to add melody to your bass. This is going to be a part two of how I'm going to take that melody, do things to make it fit more into this bass section using reverb and other elements. So let's go and take a look at what I used. It was with stock Ableton things. One of the synths that kind of stuck out to me. So how can we get that to fit better into this? So one thing we can do is we'll just make sure it's going to the same reverb. How you can do that is with your return tracks, you can create a return track, right? Pop something up right here. Then you can go into here, throw in a reverb. Bloop. That's a simple way of how to make a return track. I already have one right here with an EQ cutting off the lows before and after with my reverb. I'm using a Valhalla Room reverb. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're sending these into the same reverb. So we got this synth. We can add reverb to it. Right? And since that's the same reverb, if I really crank this as well, these are going to be in the same reverb room. Same reverb, sounds like it's in the same room, right? So we want to apply that to everything in this song, including our snares. So we got our drums right here that I put in here really quickly. You can apply synth and stuff, or you can apply reverb to these simply by separating the kick, because you really don't want kick. You don't want reverb on your kick, but you want reverb on everything else. So you can simply just take out your kick here, just duplicate it, find your kick. Let's get rid of everything else, right? There we go. This is basically the same thing, just repeated, I believe. And then for this, we just take out the kick part, right? We just duplicate. That's an easy way so we know that this is the kick. Rename, kick, Control, Command R, rename, and then drum other. And then for the drum others, that's where we'll put this reverb. There we go. Sounding pretty good. Let's go ahead and make this bouncy one fit in more. Standing out a little bit to me. So let's make sure that we got it going into Ascend. And another thing we could throw on this, and we can work in our returns and sends as well. So let's take a look at our delay. And we can time it so it's on 8s right here. So let's check it out. Let's see how it sounds with 8s. Turn it up. So that's with it on 8. Let's hear it on like 3. It's like the normal one. And then the last one I like to try it on is like 6. I like 6. That sounds decent. All right. Next is we're going to slightly mix this. So I'm just going to group those together. Rename this. And I'm just going to throw an EQ on there. And make sure all these lows are getting cut out. That low comes in much better now. So what we also want to do is look at the effects that we're putting onto our bass. So I have a rift right here that's going onto the bass. And I have a isotope trash that's going on. Simply, you can just duplicate these, throw it on one of the instruments, see if it fits it in better. That sounds great. That worked better than I thought it would. And let me just show you this real quick. These are returns, right, that I've made for this bass. And how I did that is I just set them, see how this is on auto? Well, this one's on in, and I set it to CRM5, which is this thing. So it's working as like a return. And I know you're saying, oh, why don't you just throw it on here? Well, I got these effects on here, and I don't want that sound that I have messed with at all. But I still want effects on it, right? But I don't want that core sound affected with my core frequencies. So that's why I go ahead and I add an audio where I cut off the frequencies I don't want it affected with, the lows, but then it goes ahead and adds other frequencies up here. I'll show you. Right up there. So I went and threw that isotope trash on there. Why don't I go ahead and throw this rift on here? These are both VSTs that I paid for that are, I would definitely suggest getting. Rift is really great. Distortion. And then same thing with isotope trash too. It is another distortion based one. And you can pick the frequency bands right there. You look. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open up this rift. I'm going to duplicate it. And hey, let's throw it on the pad. Let's see what happens. It worked for the one. Let's see if it works for the second one. That's a bit too much. Let's see if we can control the dry wet and make it sound any better. Output, we got a dry wet right here. Wow, 2%. All right, I mean, let's see how it sounds with those new things on it. I'm going to throw an EQ on here just so I could take a little look-see at the frequencies being pushed through. Cut those off. Let's duplicate that, throw it on there. All right, let's hear it together. Yeah. All right, it's sounding much better. And all we did was we took our effects, right, from our bass, our distortion effect that we were using, and the other distortion effect that we're using, and we simply just threw those onto our synths, right? And then some of them, like this one, I used like at 100%, right? So that one was just 100% used on this synth, and then this one I only used like 5%. So you don't have to use the full 100% of these effects. You can just apply them onto your synths and help them sound like they're more inclusive in the song, that they're not just sticking out because you're using the same effects, you're using the same elements. I did the same thing with making sure that it was in the reverb by sending it to the same reverb as everything else is being sent to, so it sounds like in the same room. And then the last thing I did was the mixing, cutting off the low frequencies, the frequencies that I don't want competing with my bass, so that way it allows the bass to come through better. It fits in because it's allowing other things to fit in as well. I hope this helps. Go ahead and use these techniques. If you want to download this project file, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/BANkaJI. And I will be dropping some more videos here soon. I'm definitely doing it to keep me on my grind, and I hope it's keeping you on your grind. Peace.